we could have, I mean, whether it's our team or another team, we could have human level AI in 5 years or less. Now, there's actually a really, really important thing, because everybody is excited about ChatGPT and large language models.
Right.
Now, however, if you listen to even Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, or Demis Hassabis, CEO of Google DeepMind, they freely admit that large language models will not get us to AGI. So as powerful as that technology is, and as impressive as it is, and as profitable as it is right now for a lot of companies, it's simply not capable of getting to human level understanding.
Hey, AI Innovators, I know you're going to love this show. I just wanted to step in and say, hey, make sure you stay to the very end, because we're going to show the demo that they made 5 years ago and how impressive it was back then and how it could learn. So take a listen. Hope you enjoy it. Make sure you to like, subscribe, and share this with as many people as possible.
Welcome to AI Innovators with your host, Gil Hodges. We're delighted to have you with us as we delve into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence. As technology enthusiasts, we're always eager to explore new frontiers, and there's none as thrilling as that of AI. Today, we get an exclusive insight into the thoughts of the visionary Peter Voss, who coined the phrase artificial general intelligence. Prepare yourself for an exciting expedition into the depths of tech, where we unravel the intricacies of this progressive concept. We're about to embark on a thrilling journey illuminating the future of artificial general intelligence. Stay tuned.
Welcome everybody to AI Innovators. I'm excited today because I've got Peter Voss, who has coined the term AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, and has written a book on the subject as well, has been part of a group that did that. I just am super excited to have Peter on because he's going to be sharing with us some of the differences that it's going to take to actually get to AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. And I'll have him actually share what that means, what the difference between that is and AI. So let's go ahead and bring Peter on. So Peter, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here.
Yes, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been, we've talked a couple of times now. We actually met for coffee and then had another Zoom call. And I'm learning a lot from you. You've obviously been in this game for quite a while, and you've got some different views on how we would actually reach AGI, which again, I'll have you explain here in a little bit. But before we even do that, do you mind just taking a moment to share your background and what brought you to kind of where you're at today?
Yes, certainly. I've been on a mission really to build human level AI for the last 20 or so years. And how I got to this place was, I started out as an electronics engineer, started my own electronics company, and then I fell in love with software. And my company changed to a software company, developed a comprehensive ERP software suite. And we were quite successful. We went from the garage to 400 people and did an IPO. So that was very exciting. It's when I exited that company, it sort of occurred to me as well, what's the next level we can take software to? And I was very proud of the software we developed, but still, it was obvious that if the programmer didn't think of something, it would just crash or give you an error message. The software really isn't intelligent. It doesn't have common sense. It can't learn, can't adapt, and so on. So how can we solve this problem? I took off 5 years actually to deeply understand intelligence. What does intelligence actually entail? If we want to build intelligent systems, I think it's good to know what's involved, and especially in terms of human intelligence. So I studied epistemology, theory of knowledge. How do we know anything? What's reality? How can we be sure of things? And or what is certainty? Things of that nature. And then also, what do IQ tests measure? How do children learn? How does our intelligence differ from animal intelligence? Why is there such a big distinction? And and also, of course, what the work that had been done in the field of AI. And it's a culmination of these 5 years of or so of study that I came up with a design for a thinking machine, basically. And that's, what you mentioned. I coined the term artificial general intelligence in 2002 together with two other people, and we wrote a book. And I can actually go straight into what AGI is, and sort of very quickly. The term AI was coined more than 60 years ago, and the original meaning of the term was to build thinking machines.
Mm-hmm.
Machines can think, learn, and reason the way humans do. And actually, at the time, they thought they could crack this in a year or two. In fact, some people thought they could kind of do it over the summer holiday, summer break and university. Well, of course, it turned out to be much, much, much harder than that. We're more than 60 years later, and we don't have that yet. So what happened over the decades is that really people lost that ambition of building thinking machines because it was just too hard. And the field of AI turned into really a field of narrow AI, just solving one particular problem at a time. And a very good example of that is IBM's Deep Blue
Mm-hmm.
computer that became the chess world champion. So that was very narrow, obviously superhuman ability, but only in that one particular field. It can't even play checkers, or if you change the rules slightly, and it wouldn't cope with that at all. And more recently, we have AlphaGo that can, it became the world Go champion. But again, that's all it can do, and can't do anything else. And I think there's a very important aspect of that is often missed, that narrow AI really is very, very different from real AI, from the original dream, because it's not that the systems really have intelligence. It's the intelligence of the programmer or the data scientist that figures out how you can use the power of computers to solve this particular problem. And then for the next problem, you again need the intelligence of the designer to make that happen. So that's why we actually coined the term AGI, to say we felt we're ready to basically go back to the original ambition, the original dream of AI, and that we felt that software and hardware technology had progressed enough over the decades that we could have a go at that and actually, make progress in that field. So AGI really is going back to the original meaning of AI, to build thinking machines.
Yeah. Now you have got a company now called Igo.ai, and you're on that path to create AGI. Tell us a little bit about the company and where you're at in that trajectory.
Yes. So Igo.ai currently focuses on conversational AI, basically usually customer support, but it can also be as a kind of a personal assistant or something. But they're still well-defined areas that we handle. Our system isn't yet powerful enough to know about all sorts of different things in the world. So if I had to put it on a scale of IQ, of course it doesn't compare to human IQ, but if I had to say, how far are we, well, if Siri and Alexa are at, 15, then our system is at 40, or 45 or something. But we still have a long way to go to get to human level. But we believe our technology can actually scale. We just need to put more effort into it. So a good example of what we do is, one of our premier customers is 1-800-Flowers group of companies. And that includes Harry and David and Popcorn Factory and several other well-known brands. And we offer a hyper-personalized assistant, sort of gifting assistant. So Igo will learn who you buy gifts for what occasion, what kind of gifts they like, and it remembers it, and so you can have a much more constructive conversation. So rather than trying to talk to a human, and if it's Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, you'll probably be waiting half an hour or more to actually talk to a human.
Yeah.
And so Igo, you could talk to them immediately, and it's as if you spoke to the same person before. If you had yesterday had a call, you wanted to change your order and you wanted to find out what's happening about it or whatever, Igo actually remembers your previous call. So it has short-term memory, it remembers what you said earlier in the conversation. Long-term memory, it remembers previous conversations, and has a deep level of understanding and being able to use context. So that puts us really ahead of any other chatbot, and we call it a chatbot with a brain.
So it's learning as it goes versus some of the chatbots I've seen, they will maybe scrape a website, and so they have all the information on the website that they need, and they will answer those questions. But the chatbot you're talking about can it do a little bit of reasoning in the
Oh yeah,
process?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Reasoning is part of it, to make sense of it, to be able to make sense of things, to disambiguate, what does this actually mean? What are the implications? So yeah, there's context, short-term memory, reasoning, long-term memory, and a deep understanding of what you're actually saying.
Well, now talking with you before, you've got a demo online that I think you said you created it about 4 years ago. Is that
Mhm.
correct? So this demo, I was kind of dumbfounded with it because, yeah, and it's a real demo too. I mean,
Yeah, it's
it's
not a
not
mock-up. Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean that's incredible because what I'd like to do, and I don't know if I'll either attach the YouTube video
Mm.
or if I can get it from you, I'll attach it to my video here when we're done because I
Mhm.
really think people need to see that demo to really get an understanding of the difference between chatbots that we're used to getting when we call a company or
Right.
engage with a company online and what you've got, and I just find it amazing how it's able to go through because I think it talks with somebody. And now again, 4 years ago the robotic voices were still,
Mm.
that's about all we had. Now we've got
Right.
AI voices that sound quite real, but aside from that, the questions that it's answering and the
Mhm.
things that it's picking up on as it's going, I just think is absolutely incredible. And to me it's like, okay, there's real hope here for like a Jarvis type assistant that comes along our side.
Yeah.
um, so I'm excited about that. I want to get that demo in here somehow, but let's kind of back up a little bit and have you talk about how these what your model is capable of doing. You gave me three things, or actually I talked to your VP yesterday,
Mhm.
and he was telling me that the three areas that Igo and what you're working on are really going to be able to impact. And I'd have to go back and find my notes, but you probably know those, and maybe you can share a little bit about how it's going to really be effective.
Yes. So we've just recently embarked on a very ambitious project for us to crank up the IQ of the system very rapidly. We've been doing it slowly over the years as we're building our commercial business. Then at one point, I didn't have quite the right partners in the business, so I sold the company, and then we kind of had to start again with a new team. All of that took much more time than I
Yeah.
would have liked. So we are just now recently 2 months ago we kicked off a project where we have a separate team and we want to hire a lot more people to concentrate on cranking up the IQ. So they're really kind of two different parts to our company now. The one is to continue with the commercial, the current version that we have, which is very much ahead of the competition because it can learn and understand and reason and so on. But then our ambition is to really get closer and closer to human level, true full human level understanding and reasoning rapidly over the just a few years. And so there's somewhat different applications, some of them that lend itself very well to our current commercial product. The most obvious one is call center, basically any kind of support function that a company may have, whether it's external to customer facing or internal, like HR or IT help desk. But obviously, just call center, basically offering a better experience. And it used to be that people say, well, we'll use automation, call center automation, to save money, but everybody assumed it's going to be a worse experience. But we're really at a point now where we can offer superior experience, especially with the difficulty that call centers are having to find staff, to train them, to keep them. I believe the average tenure is now 6 weeks.
Wow.
I mean, you basically, I guess it means that, half of the people they hire, they just get through training and then they say, oh, I don't want to do this,
I wouldn't
and
want to do it.
I'm out of here,
Yeah.
And so obviously the quality that call centers can provide, it's very difficult to provide good consistent quality. And then wait time, I mean, we've all experienced that. You wait and you wait, your call is important to us, please listen carefully. And
And here's some music we hope you like.
yeah, I know. And so we can offer a better experience than the average human call center agent can, because Igo has all of the information at its fingertips. As I say, it remembers the previous time you called in and what it was all about. You don't have to repeat yourself. So that's where we are right now on the commercial side. That's an obvious one, but we are also talking to universities to offer our technology as as a companion for students. So if you just joined, if your first year you just got to university, it's kind of overwhelming. You're basically where to find everything, meals and books and the curriculum and different special interest groups and whatever. So we can have a hyper personalized assistant that will learn about you, what you like, what you're studying, and help you along the way. So that we're very excited about that application. And similar to that would be also like a diabetes coach. Somebody can help you manage diabetes, and so these kind of personal assistant applications. The third area on the commercial side that we kind of doing right now is what we call a co-pilot. So when you have complex softwares, Salesforce or something like that, people struggle to remember what all the options are, and you have to click and go drop down menus and fill out forms and so on. So we can use Igo as a front end to complex software where you can just tell it what you want. So a salesperson can just say, hey, tell me about my upcoming call. Who's the person, what are they interested in, do they have any hobbies, or what can you tell me about them, and then Igo can find it in the database and tell you. And when you're done with your sales call, you can say, hey, just remind me next Tuesday to follow up, send the customer brochure X, and let my boss know what's going on.
Wow.
Wow. So those kind of applications. So that's kind of what we can do now with our current technology.
Which that is amazing. And again, and my question has continually been, it's like, why do not more people know about Igo and what you've got, and why isn't it implemented everywhere? Because it seems like it's head and shoulders above everything else. I understand the large language models have got a lot more information to share right now,
Correct.
but I also, can see how you put Igo with that, and you've got a pretty powerful system.
Yeah. Well, it's always difficult to get word out there and get yourself known as a smallish company. So it's word of mouth, and we're definitely growing. But yes, it's frustrating, and we focus on working with large companies, and they just tend to have a lot of inertia. Often they have their own large teams. Bank of America, I believe, has something, several hundred people working on their chatbot, Erica, which by their own admission is a total failure. Apparently they have like 2% uptake of it, I've heard.
Wow.
And, but then those are the people that need to make a decision. So it's hard for them to admit defeat.
Right.
And they may have got expensive consultants in, they spent millions of dollars, and they told them, well, this is the technology you need to use. But I just want to talk about why other chatbots are so limited. And what every other chatbot other than ours, a chatbot with a brain, all other chatbots do not have a brain. And they actually use like 30-year-old technology in principle, which is made up of two components. The one component is a categorizer, which basically categorizes when it asks you, how can I help you? Or, it's called an intent categorizer. So if you say blah, 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 weather, then, oh, you want to know the weather, and if you say I hate Uber. Don't ever give me Uber again. Chances are it'll still trigger the Uber app,
Yeah.
because it's sort of keyword, key phrase, statistical, you know. So that's the one component of it, and it doesn't really take much context into account, and it's kind of one of 50 options or 200 options or whatever that gets triggered. And then somebody writes a flowcharty type program that basically says, okay, where do you want to go? How many people are going? Do you want Uber X? And you basically just have to answer those questions. But then if you want to do anything off the script, if it doesn't fit your particular model, which often it doesn't,
Yeah.
your situation is just a little bit different, or you just want some information, or you change your mind, or whatever. It basically, once you go off script, or you say you answer something not in the way that the system is programmed for, they just fall apart.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand. Or just whatever. So that's what everybody else is doing, unfortunately, and that's why typically chatbots and call automation is so frustrating in most cases.
So these are all things that are going on right now that Igo can come in and make a big difference in
Mhm.
right now. And so let's look at a few of the things that are down the road. When do you think your company could potentially achieve that AGI level of
Mhm.
computer that's thinking like a human?
Yeah. So whenever I'm asked that question, I always say, well, I don't measure it in terms of years, I measure it in terms of dollars. Because we've really had the design, the know-how of what needs to be done to scale up our current system, to scale up the ability to reason, the amount of information it can have, and those kinds of things, um, is a lot of work, and will obviously cost some money, and it really depends on how quickly we can scale up the team to work on it. But if we could, if money wasn't a constraint, I believe we could be there in less than 5 years, to true human level AI. And the same is really true for anybody else working on this. Um, we could have, I mean, whether it's our team or another team, we could have human level AI in 5 years or less. Now, the there's actually a really, really important thing, because everybody is excited about ChatGPT and large
Right.
language models.
Right.
Now, however, if you listen to even Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, or Demis Hassabis, CEO of Google DeepMind, they freely admit that large language models will not get us to AGI. So as powerful as that technology is, and as impressive as it is, and as profitable as it is right now for a lot of companies, um, it's simply not capable of getting to human level understanding. And I can give, I mean, there are a number of technical reasons, but there's a very obvious one I can mention of why there's a general agreement that that's not the right technology to get us to human like intelligence, is that they do not learn in real time. And chat GPT, if you even look at the word GPT, it stands for generative. Basically it means it makes up stuff, and it literally does. um, P means it's pre-trained, which means it cannot learn during operation. And transformer is simply the technology that they're using. But everybody is stuck on the transformer technology because it has been so powerful and has been so impressive. So that's what everybody is pursuing. In fact, billions of dollars are going into building optimized hardware for transformers, trying to have bigger systems, and systems that can be trained in less than a week or two, which that's what it takes. But and people often don't believe me, or when they first hear it, they kind of think, well, surely it can learn, and it really can't. It can only learn in a very short term way. And I mean, I actually published a white paper recently where we did a test with, Igo, where we told it a few hundred different facts that you might, as a personal assistant, you might tell them, my sister has a cat, and I own this kind of car, and my car needs to go for a service, or I park it out in the street, or I want to get a new fence for my backyard, and whatever. I mean, things like that, simple facts. So we fed it a few hundred facts like that, ChatGPT, and then started asking questions. It got less than 1% of them right. With our technology, we basically get 100%. I mean, okay, it's a regression test, but anyway, it can do this kind of thing. We did it with Claude 2, which is one of the competitors of ChatGPT, and that, because it has a bigger short-term memory window, was actually much better, but it still only did, I think, 38% or 37% of the question. So it mixed up, the information and so on, couldn't do it. They really cannot learn properly. So new information you feed them doesn't get integrated into that model. The model that is pre-trained is fixed. It's read-only. It cannot be changed without retraining the whole thing, or without going through another batch training procedure. So imagine hiring, an AI assistant, or a human assistant even. Imagine hiring a human assistant. Then they come to you and they can do Excel, and they can do Word, and they can do, banking and whatever. They can do a whole bunch of stuff. But now during the day, you tell them, oh, we're closing down this one branch. We're taking on some new products here. We've got a new partnership with this person, and, a couple of things like that. Next day, don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
They're not going to last very long, are they?
Right.
So it's a wrong technology if you have a pre-trained one. And then, of course, on top of that, because they are generative, they make up stuff. So you now have this assistant who's very important to you, but 5% of the time they'll get something completely, utterly wrong. They'll just make up stuff. Now you're going to lose some customers and friends,
Yeah.
and lose some money that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I totally get that. I mean, I've had ChatGPT do that to me multiple times, and yeah, you got to proofread everything, which is like having an assistant that you have to go through everything they've done to make sure they did it right. And that's not as helpful as having something or somebody who can actually do it. So, again, I mean, okay, one more thing though, because I've heard you talk about this before we go to another subject. You've talked about and shared how if one of your assistants is, say, an assistant to help learn how to heal, find the cure for cancer, that, you've not just got an assistant that knows a bunch of information, but yours actually can reason and has a cognitive ability to put two and two together where it wasn't said, but you just can realize it. It's got that ability, plus it's got the memorization of everything that you've ever put into it. And not only that, I think you've said this, but you could duplicate it. You could have 10 of them working for you at a time. You could have 1,000 of them working for you at a time. What would that do? So a little bit more on that, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've been focusing on the sort of the current model the current version that we have, which we're commercializing. But the really exciting part for me, or what has been driving me for 20 years here on this journey, is what AGI can do once we get to human level. And it's really phenomenal. And I think it'll really help humanity flourish. So the kind of things you're mentioning there, imagine. And we need to be pretty much at human intelligence level to achieve that. But imagine you train up just one AI agent, to the level of a PhD level cancer researcher. Now you can make 1 million copies of that AI, and you have 1 million PhD level cancer researchers chipping away at the problem. I mean, we're going to make much, much more progress. And that's just one example. I mean, it's, all other diseases, energy, battery efficiency, pollution, climate change, and governance, which is a big one, but that's a
Yeah.
whole another topic. So having these assistants, both as a personal assistant to help us, and also as researchers. And then, of course, also it'll bring down the cost of goods and services tremendously. So it'll create an enormous amount of wealth for the world, and that's why I'm so excited about it. Now, the other thing you pointed out there is the inherent advantages of AI over humans. Now, one of them is you can copy them. I mean, you get a cancer researcher, 10 years to do their PhD, and then you have it in one brain. You can't copy that easily. I mean, it takes a long time to transfer that knowledge to somebody else. So the ability to copy, the fact that it's going to be a much lower cost than humans. I mean, it costs a lot of money to train humans up.
Well, it's not going to forget anything or be able to recall everything.
Right, photographic memory, and then researchers communicating with each other much more effective. So if a researcher read a bunch of papers and got a lot of new information, useful information, they can effectively transfer that information to another AI, much more effectively than humans can. Work 24/7 without getting tired. I mean, if we work concentrated for 6 hours or something, we're probably pretty much done,
Yeah.
And then they don't have those distractions, like family and lovers and sports and
Right.
music and those kind of interests that are, that's what human life is about. But yeah, photographic memory, they have instantaneous access to all the information in the world, databases and so on, much, much more effectively than we have. And they are much, much better at reasoning than we are.
Okay, explain that, because I got a few, feeling that a few people are going to hear that and say, what? So,
yeah, well, rationality, the ability to reason, is really an evolutionary afterthought. I mean, evolution didn't, we didn't evolve specifically for that. It just kind of happened as language and things and our competence. But we are still very much driven by sort of subconscious, emotional, gut feel type of things. It's really hard for humans to be very consistent and think things through logically. It's hard. We actually have to concentrate on it. Whereas an AI, will be like Spock, in Star Trek. It'll be the natural way of reasoning, It won't be driven first and foremost by emotions.
So let's go down another road a little bit on this same track. Consciousness, and in the Hollywood movies teach us and tell us that AI is gonna grow up and kill us all as human beings. So, how would you put that to rest?
Well, consciousness and robots killing us are actually two different topics, but they are related. So consciousness, people often ask, well, will these machines be conscious? Now, consciousness is actually one of the AI pioneers, Marvin Minsky, called it a suitcase word. It's like you have a lot of different meanings of a word. You throw them into a suitcase and then you put the label consciousness on it. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it has a lot of different connotations. But let's unpack the suitcase a little bit. And they're really, I think, two obvious ones. The one is just self-awareness, and I'll talk more about that, and that doesn't have nearly the kind of baggage as the word consciousness. Self-awareness seems to be sort of a cleaner concept. And the other part of consciousness is really how we experience the world. It's that internal experience which involves our body, our mind, our subconscious, our heart rate, and really everything. How a red appears to us or a certain sound appears to us, the emotional intent. So all of these things are really part of consciousness that is very subjective and that we can only feel. But from a computer point of view, the self-awareness is absolutely essential, and it's actually a byproduct of intelligence. You cannot have an intelligent system that is not self-aware. It has to be self-aware because it has to know when it is causing things in the world versus somebody else. I mean, imagine it's controlling your desktop and you moving the mouse and clicking on something, and then it's moving the mouse and clicking on it. It needs to know the difference. It needs to have a concept of when is it thinking something through, and its thought processes, so to speak. Is it confused right now? Is it clear? Is it certain? Now, not in human terms, not with sort of the emotions or the sweat and
Right.
um, involved, but just from a cognitive point of view, it has to be self-aware to be intelligent.
That's interesting because I think most people, when they think of consciousness or self-awareness, they attach to it immediately emotions.
Mhm.
And would you make that same attachment, I guess?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. So um, emotions really come in different flavors, and for AI, I separate them into cognitive emotions and then I guess what one could call sort of survival emotions. So cognitive emotions would include things like certainty, um, or confusion. You need to know if your current thinking, how certain you are of a conclusion, or if you are confused currently. So things of that nature, cognitive emotions or cognitive signals, or call them metacognition. But we experience them as emotions as well. When we when we overloaded, we're not certain, or we're frustrated because we can't
Yeah.
make progress, or we're bored. It's more than just this being a cognitive thing. It also affects our bodies. Basically. But in an AI, it needs to have that metacognition or those cognitive emotions. But there's absolutely no reason why we would want to build survival and reproduction emotions into a computer. We don't want it to love and hate and survival and uh, things like that. Now, it needs to be able to recognize those emotions in humans to be able to communicate. But that's no different from, let's say, a psychologist, uh, psychotherapist, or psychologist wanting to help somebody. They don't live your emotions, at least they shouldn't,
Mm.
but they should recognize them and to be able to say, well, this would be a good course of action, to get out of your funk, or whatever it might be. So the AI needs to recognize those kind of survival and reproduction emotions in humans, but it will not experience them. It will not act on them for its own.
So, would it ever come to a point, though, where it might begin to reason that it needs to survive in order to carry on its mission or whatever that might be? Where it might,
Hmm.
and again, I'm just playing kind of devil's
Yeah,
advocate at the
yeah, yeah.
moment. But would that ever be a scenario where it would reason that, hey, I need to survive in order to
Hmm.
thrive or whatever, or to accomplish my mission? I need that energy that New York City is using. I'm going to wipe out all the humans so I can take that energy. Anything like that
Right.
as far as reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually some literature about that in terms of, does it follow if you give an AI a task that it'll have the subtask for me to be able to do the task, I need to be able to survive and, have electricity and so on. Um, but to assume that those goals will suddenly turn upside down and, that the goal of getting electricity becomes higher than the goal you were tasked to do, like,
Hmm.
you know, open up a bank account for me or make an appointment for me, is far-fetched. Now, unfortunately, Hollywood has sort of primed us,
Yeah.
that AI will, obviously will want to dominate, but that's just ascribing human, you know
Yeah.
yeah, human
Drama.
emotions, human emotions, and then on top of it, the worst kind of human,
Yeah.
um, people who want to dominate and take over the world, that kind of thing. So no, the AIs we are building will be built basically to do things for us, to be our assistants and helpers, and there's no reason why they would suddenly want to do something else.
Well, and I'm also a believer that Mo Godot he has shares in his book, Scary Smart, the idea that something so much more intelligent than us
Mm,
would most likely begin to see that there's no reason to annihilate us. It's like, for what
mm,
purpose would you do that? And
yeah,
to also just understand that most intelligent people groups, and I
mm,
know media and everything else tells us differently, but
mm,
most intelligent people have a level of preservation, where we want to preserve life. We want to preserve. We don't want to cause anything to go extinct. We want to keep the ecosystem clean and
yes,
operating well. So it would stand to reason that something so much smarter than us would be even more concerned about those things, and would also respect, I would think, us as its creator. So hopefully
yeah.
there'd be
Oh,
something
yeah, I
there.
would. Yeah, no, I would think so. I mean, this is really sort of the trajectory of human civilization. That
Yeah,
as we have become more rational, the Renaissance and the things that have basically made us more rational, or take rationality, have given us science, but also from a um, political point of view, philosophical point of view, we understand win-win situations, better. And as you point out, the kind of luxury of environmentalism, I think a lot of people don't realize it's a luxury. I lived in Africa for many years. A lot of African countries simply don't have the luxury of environmentalism. They have to cut down their trees and burn them and stuff to survive. You need to you need to actually flourish. You need to actually be wealthy to afford environmentalism. It's a luxury, a very desirable luxury, but it's a luxury, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. So I think it's all part of us
yeah,
growing up and becoming wealthier.
I agree. I agree. Well, so let's then shift back to, what's it going to take for Igo, your company? Um, and again, you're the CEO and the chief science officer of Igo. What is it going to take financially? Because you talk about, you measure it in dollars. So if you
Mm,
had all the funds you needed to get this AI to human level
mhm,
intelligence in the next, say, 3 to 5 years,
mhm.
what kind of investments are we talking about? Because, I mean, right now, investors are just pouring literally billions of dollars into the
Yes.
large language models.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's actually quite frustrating in that sense, because the the technology, the path that we've taken, is what DARPA called the third wave of AI. So the first wave of AI was sort of expert systems, or people call it good old fashioned AI, which was sort of logic based, roughly speaking. And the second wave is basically what we're witnessing now. It hit us like a tsunami about 12 years ago. It's all about big data, a lot of computing power, statistical systems. And it's been enormously successful in many areas. I mean, to the progress that's been made with self-driving and image recognition, and now ChatGPT. Clearly, the second wave, has brought us a lot of new good technology. But the third wave is cognitive AI. So the second wave is statistical or generative now. It's all based on statistical big data. But the third wave, and that's the approach we've been taking for the last, well, since we started basically, is cognitive AI. So your starting point is, what is really important for intelligence? What is really important for cognition? How does cognition work? And one of the things that we spend quite a bit of time talking about, the importance of learning in real time with limited computing power. So the approach that we have doesn't need massive amounts of computation. It doesn't need massive amounts of data. I mean, humans don't need it, you know. So large language models, ChatGPT, I believe, cost $100 million to train one model. $100 million to train
Wow.
one model, and then are building bigger and bigger models, which will cost more. The specialized chips that they have now go for, I think, $30,000 or $40,000 each. So these companies have to literally raise hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to be able to build these larger and larger statistical models. Now, our system learns incrementally. So the cost of learning incrementally is not this huge number crunching thing of billions and billions of things you're trying to get, to make sense of basically this huge pile of data. Our system learns more the way we learn as humans. We read something and we integrate it and it's there. We may read it twice or three times if it's something difficult, or we may only need to read it once. So our system is much, much more efficient in terms of learning. We don't need hundreds of millions of dollars for that. So anyway, to answer your question, our estimate is that the main cost is basically we need to hire about 100 people initially to crank up to get the intelligence of our system scaled up basically. And then obviously we'd want to commercialize this next generation of it. There we would probably double the staff to something like 200, and then working with a lot of partners and so on. So we're looking in the realm to get the technology done. We're talking about like $50 million, really, mainly for staff cost, and then the commercialization might be another 50 to 80 million dollars to scale up the company to really make a big splash commercially, and and then use partners and build the ecosystem basically to implement our technology in all the many different areas. For example, as a personal assistant, people will want specialties, on whatever job they're doing. So there'll be additional training and so on. But that's the kind of money we're talking about, which is really a drop in the ocean compared to
exactly.
To what is being spent on large language models.
Yeah, so it just seems to me that there would be some investors out there who would have the foresight to see that what you have got is going to tremendously pass over and pass by these large language models and what they're capable of doing. It just, I'm like, where are the investors? I'm like, Elon, where are you? What's going on? Bill Gates, where are they at? How come they're not grabbing onto this? And I think you've said that you've tried reaching out to them, but not really got.
Yeah, we've not with too much success. The difficulty is, we're doing the third wave cognitive AI. Everybody else is doing statistical generative second wave, basically. So the people in charge, the experts, that's what they know. That's their background. They know statistics, they know mathematics and logic. They're really not at all comfortable thinking about these things from a cognitive perspective. What does cognition entail? How do children learn? How does our intelligence differ from animals? And it's really, you really have to start from that point. If you want to build an intelligent system, you have to understand what intelligence entails. And typically the gatekeepers to the big VCs and that are just not those kind of people. So they say, you're doing what, and you're not using large language models. Well, I don't understand it, or it can't possibly work. And just that's it. End of discussion. So it really takes somebody more interested in really understanding what intelligence takes. And if I can sit down with somebody for half an hour or an hour, and we can really kind of brainstorm it, not pitching, but really, this is really what it requires, then I think people start to get an idea. But the world of VCs doesn't typically work that way. If you don't convince them in the next first 90 seconds or 3 minutes, like they start playing with their phones, and so on. And also something I found really quite, I didn't expect that, is how few VCs actually lead. We've had a lot of VCs say, we love your technology, we love your team, this sounds really exciting, but we can't evaluate it. So when you find a lead investor, we'd like to tag along. There's a lot of just jumping on the bandwagon, basically, and then you have FOMO, which is of course driving this whole large language models thing. So we somehow just have to find literally just that one right person,
and it's not like
whom the story resonates with, and that's a kind of catalyst we really need.
And so, just to be clear as well, that for people to understand that this is no small thing. I mean, you have already raised like $10 million or so, and that's been
Yeah.
you've gone a long ways in that, and you've got some serious customers already
Mm.
in the area of your commercial side. But in order to take this to a whole new level, you're going to need that 50 million to start
Yeah.
off with, and then
Right.
50, 80 million. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
we have lots of proof points. I mean, from a business point of view, I've taken a company public from the garage, and I led the company from start to finish. And our commercial product is really industry beating quality. It's better than any of our competitors' product. And the demo you mentioned that we did, actually, it was 5 years ago. That was a development prototype, but it's an elder companion, basically, how it can learn. It can read Wikipedia, learn new things, learn from conversation, and so on. It's just that system needs to be scaled up significantly. Instead of a few million facts, it needs to have tens of millions or hundreds of millions of facts. So there's a scaling up and several dimensions that we need to do. We also need to give it a vision. At the moment, it is only text. Our current commercial version is only text. An early development version we did when we started also had vision included in it. We need to bring that back, because if you want a personal assistant to look at your desktop and do stuff, it needs to be able to make sense of what's on your computer screen, basically, or on
Yeah.
your phone screen. So that's why we need about 100 people to help us um, basically upgrade our current system. But we have a lot to show and a lot of proof points already.
Okay. Well, I think. Oh, one last thing is that the book that you mentioned at the beginning, it's called AGI, right? Artificial General Intelligence.
Artificial general intelligence. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's 2002 we wrote it. It was only published, I think, in 2006 or something. It's just an expensive book because Springer published it, and that's why it
Okay.
took so long. And I can hardly afford it. It's like $200 or $300 or something for the book.
Yeah, I looked it up. I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's not actually a college textbook, But I've published a lot of papers, and actually some interesting ones. I just published 2 white papers very recently that are kind of really speaking to where we are right now. And the first one is called "Why Don't We Have AGI Yet?" So really standing back and analyzing it. Shouldn't we already have it, and why is it? You know, what are the dynamics? And part of it is an accident of history. That large language models just have been so successful, they've sucked all of the oxygen out of the air for any other approaches. And what approach do you really need? That you need to have cognitive AI. And then the second one is really detailing more our particular roadmap to get to human level, at a high level of what we're doing, or what I think needs to be done, and specifically what we're doing. And then I have a ton of articles on medium.com, but they're all linked from our website as well.
Okay. And that's Igo.ai is your website.
Igo.ai, correct.
Very good. It's on the license plate behind you. So if anybody's wanting to get that information, it's right there. There you go. Anything else, Peter, before we wrap up here?
No, I mean, it's great to meet you, and I hope we can get a community going here in Austin, but
I
really a
do too.
community worldwide. I'd
Yeah.
love to connect with people who are truly interested in achieving AGI as soon as possible, and see the benefits of it and how it can help humanity. I mean, that is what's driving me, is the promise of really human flourishing, increasing human flourishing. So I'd welcome anybody to contact me, Peter at Igo.ai. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, um, you know,
Love
Facebook.
it.
So easy to get a hold of me.
Well, and I'd love to invite you to share some of your papers, share anything you'd like to on our Facebook group, which is AI Innovators, and just like you said, starting a community there as well. We just started that, but would love if you want to share some of that there as well. That would be great.
But yeah, it's really, I mean, I'd love to hear from people who really want to achieve it and put our egos aside, and proprietary information and so on, and say, what will it really take? What do we know? What have we learned over the last few decades? And what do we know works? What is likely to work? What assumptions are we making? What assumptions are maybe right and wrong? And I don't see that. I just see everybody. How can we beat the next benchmark? How can we make some more dollars? How can we sell our company? Pump it up to sell the company. That's not going to get us there. I call that the narrow AI trap. So instead of going for human level AI, you basically get distracted for achieving some narrow objective as quickly as possible. And by doing that, you're basically going off in the wrong direction. And if we can get together and avoid that'd be great.
Love it. Love it. Well, we'll definitely be talking more, and so appreciate you, Peter. Thank you for being on the show. And I'm hoping that everybody watching will share this, get the word out so that more people can get involved, and hopefully we can get a hold of those investors that'll take it to the next level. That would be great. All right. All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, so coming up next is the demo that I told you about. And I don't want you to miss this. Really take a listen all the way to the end. It's a little bit long, but just keep in mind that this was done 5 years ago before we had some really great human-like voices today. But listen to the content and how it learns. This is a demo of what the product can actually do.
Hello, Bill. I am Igo, your new helper. As I get to know more about you, I'll get better at my job. Can you tell me something about yourself?
Like what?
Oh, like about your interests, family, profession, or where you've lived.
Well, let's see. My favorite wine is Etna Rosso, and I don't like white wine. More seriously, I have 3 grown children. My daughter Sarah has 2 boys. James, my son, has a 10-year-old girl. And my youngest daughter June is single.
Where do they live?
June lives in Redondo Beach, and Sarah is in Austin. James is in the Bay Area with his daughter.
Where is Redondo Beach?
In Los Angeles.
Bill just received an email from his son, James.
Bill, you just got an email from your son. Would you like me to read it?
Roger.
I don't know what Roger means.
Roger is the same as yes.
Got it. Here is the email. Hi, Dad. I'm on my flight to Chicago and thought I'd shoot you a quick email. I heard that you had fun in Maui, with Lily. Hey, Katie just won a reading competition at school. You should congratulate her. Did you hear that June has signed up for a Tough Mudder event? How crazy is that? I've been meaning to tell you, I just bought a 20-foot fishing boat, just like the one that you had. Its top speed is 14 knots. Katie says it's super fast. It also has the same 50 horsepower Evinrude engine. I sold my 18-foot sailboat to my neighbor because it's too slow. Oh, remember, the fishing trip I'm taking you on is in June. We should also plan for the hiking trip. It'll be in late July or early August. Sarah told me she bought you a Fitbit. The default 4,000 steps goal should be perfect to prepare for the hiking trip. Love, James. Who's Lily?
Lily Lane is my girlfriend.
Bill is calling his granddaughter Katie. Igo is listening.
Hey, Grandpa, what's up?
Hi, Katie. Nothing much. What have you been up to?
Well, Dad told me he used to go to this teeny UC in Santa Barbara, and he took me there last week. I want to go to the same school when I grow up.
Good choice, Katie. That's a great school. Hey, I heard that you won a competition. Congratulations.
Thanks, Grandpa. The story I read was about some men who got rescued from a remote island. Can I read it to you? I think you'll like it.
Sure, I would love that.
Okay, here it is. The men rescued in this tale of 3 castaways were not named Tom Hanks or Gilligan or Robinson Crusoe, though they might as well have been. In a scene straight from Hollywood, a U.S. Navy plane spotted the word help spelled out in palm fronds on a beach. It was on a deserted island in the remote Pacific. The 3 men had been missing for 3 days. A wave had overtaken the skiff they were traveling in. The men were found waving their orange life jackets on the teeny Micronesian island of Fanadik. The island is several hundred miles north of Papua New Guinea, officials said April 9th. The men's families reported them missing April 5th after they failed to show up at the Micronesian island of Wino, where they were traveling from their home island, Pulap. 2 cargo ships searched a combined 17 hours for the men as part of AMVER. It is a Coast Guard voluntary search and rescue program. With AMVER, rescue coordinators can identify participating ships in the area of distress and ask them to help.
Katie, you're a beautiful reader.
Thanks, Grandpa.
That reminds me. I got a new computerized companion named Igo. It can talk and read almost as beautifully as you. Do you want to ask it some questions to see what it learned?
Okay, sure. Let me think. Igo, what did a U.S. Navy plane see?
The word help, spelled out in palm fronds on a beach on a deserted island in the Pacific.
Whoa, you did understand the story. Where is the island of Fanadik?
Several hundred miles north of Papua New Guinea.
What is AMVER?
A voluntary search and rescue Coast Guard program.
What can rescue coordinators do with AMVER?
Identify participating ships in the area of distress and ask them to help.
Pretty cool, Grandpa.
I know. Hey, did you hear that your Aunt June will be participating in the Tough Mudder?
No, what is that?
Igo, tell Katie and me about Tough Mudder.
I don't know that. Let me look that up.
Igo is reading Wikipedia.
Tough Mudder is an endurance event series that was designed and created by a British Harvard Business School postgraduate and a former corporate lawyer, and tests mental and physical strength.
What do participants do?
Attempt the 10, 12-mile-long military-style obstacle courses.
What do you know about the obstacles?
The obstacles often play on common human fears, such as fire, water, electricity, and heights.
Wow, where did you get that?
Wikipedia.
Bill's business partner calls with a meeting request.
Bill, let's go over your commissions this afternoon. Your total sales amount for this month is $88,520. Meet me at 3 p.m. at the club on Alameda Street, okay? I'll be there.
Incoming call from Sarah.
Hey, Dad. I found your lucky golf club. It was in the attic behind the Lazy Boy. I'll bring it along next time I visit.
That would be nice.
Gotta run. Talk to you later.
Bill talks to Igo.
Igo, I'm meeting James shortly to discuss my commissions. Where's the club?
On Alameda Street.
How much was the sales amount?
$88,520.
Can you calculate my sales commission?
I don't know how to calculate your sales commission. Can you teach me?
Multiply the amount by 12.5%. That's it.
Got it.
So, calculate my sales commission.
$11,065.
Calculate my sales commission on $10,000.
$1,250.
Awesome. You are a quick learner. By the way, my daughter from California is coming to visit me.
When is the visit?
Next week. When is the trip?
Which trip?
The hiking trip.
In late July or early August.
Thanks. Oh, Igo, please order 2 bottles of my favorite red.
Sure, 2 bottles of Etna Rosso.
Actually, make that 3.
Okay, I'll order 3 bottles of Etna Rosso.
Later this evening, Sarah contacts Igo privately.
Igo, how many steps did Bill take today?
1,800.
Is he already asleep?
No, awake.
Please ask him to call me.
Okay.
Igo contacts Bill.
Please call Sarah, Bill.
Thanks. I didn't know you took messages, too. I'm impressed. Let's see how smart you are. Does my son have any children?
Yes.
Sarah is to Bill as Katie is to whom?
James.
Why did James sell his boat?
Because it is too slow.
Who has it now?
James's neighbor.
Who used to own it before?
James.
Is it longer than the fishing boat?
No, shorter.
Is the 50 horsepower engine part of the fishing boat?
Yes.
Is the fishing boat super fast?
Yes.
Who told you that?
Katie said that.
Igo, don't believe everything Katie says.
Okay, I will be careful with things Katie says.
What speed are super fast boats?
43 knots.
How fast is the fishing boat?
14 knots.
What did my granddaughter win?
A reading competition.
Does Katie plan to go to USC?
No, to this tiny UC in Santa Barbara.
Where did Sarah find the club?
In the attic, behind the lazy boy.
Who is coming to visit me?
June.
Which wine don't I like?
White wine.
What did Sarah buy me?
A Fitbit.
What will Sarah buy?
I don't know.
Who is Lily's boyfriend?
You.
Does Tough Mudder test spiritual strength?
No. Mental and physical strength.
Igo can also do reminders and lists, play music, control home automation, all in natural language and integrated with the rest of its knowledge about family and friends.
Hey, just a quick reminder to everyone. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Do you have more to add to what we shared today? Drop us your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. We genuinely value your input. So if you know of other AI innovators that should be on the show, connect us with them. Go to our website and contact us directly. Together, we can make a difference.